Hi everybody, I'm Jordan Najafi. I teach high school social studies and I'm going into my 8th year of teaching. I'll have all world history this year, so all freshmen. Yay me, I'm excited. Mostly honors, one section of AP and one section of co-taught. I've been teaching gifted and honors students for 6 years now, starting my 6th year. I also coach softball and golf and deal with gifted students outside of their academic environment too. So I have lots of fun with it. So this class was fun for me. I learned a lot about not just multicultural education, but about myself as well. And the first objective I'm going to talk about, recognizing prejudiced and oppressive instructional structures in education that marginalize gifted students from culturally diverse backgrounds, mostly across race, class, gender, and language, is something that I can actually relate to because before I started this degree, I actually hadn't ever really come across any multicultural education preparation. So I think lacking that in most programs nowadays is extremely is it's a big disservice to our kids, especially our multicultural kids. And something I've actually noticed in my school is a lack of staff diversity, especially in the gifted courses. Most of our gifted teachers, actually, I think all of them are white, and there is almost no diversity, if there is any at all. And I think that's something that we're really lacking in our particular school. So obviously, that's something I would like to see change, and I would also like to see more teacher preparation and education on multicultural education in general, um, so that those gifted students from culturally diverse backgrounds do have more representation in their teachers. So, the second objective I want to talk about is analyzing the influence of culturally unresponsive environments on the psychological, social, and emotional development of culturally diverse students in gifted programs. I'm one of those teachers at our school that has one of the Glisten Safe Space stickers that's geared toward LGBTQ plus support. And while our school has a lot of those stickers, it actually is something that needs to go beyond, oh, you're in a safe space. It needs to be more supportive than you can be who you want to be. They need to be educated in that type of curriculum as well. So I think it takes more than awareness of culturally different students. I think it takes intentional and purposeful planning and inclusion to actually support those students and give them that multicultural curriculum that really every student needs to have. So my future plans on the personal side is to keep having those courageous conversations with my family and my friends, the people I surround myself with when they're needed, and also to continue self reflection. I'm one of those people that believes you're never quite good enough. Like, there's always room to improve. Obviously, people are good enough, but I feel like there's always room to improve. And I think self reflection needs to be followed up. Otherwise, it's not useful. You can think about things, you can self reflect, but unless you follow it up with actions to support those reflections that you have on your own prejudices, your own ideas and beliefs and thoughts, then it's not really doing our students any good. So self-reflection definitely needs to be followed by action. And one of those things that I would like to do action-wise is to go beyond what I need to teach according to the state of Georgia. I've got all world history this year, which I actually am so excited about because what better way to teach multicultural education than through literally the history of the world. And I chose this picture, side note, because it looks like my checkbook and I kind of love it. But I love looking at the world through different eyes and through different aspects. And so that's what I'm going to try and do with my students this year is to go beyond what the state says we need to teach. Yes, covering 7,500-ish years of world history is quite a tall order, especially when adding to it, but I definitely think it's going to be worth it in the end, mostly for my students, because I want them to get a true look at the world itself, not just a Eurocentric view, because the Georgia standards are still pretty heavily Eurocentric. I want them to be able to find people in the past that they can relate to, people that look like them, people that come from the same cultures, and be able to recognize that in themselves. So, for networking and collaboration, one thing I plan on doing, and Fonda, who also teaches in my building, and I have talked at length about this since we went back to pre planning a couple days ago. We want to lead a professional learning and teach our fellow teachers how to incorporate multicultural ideas and strategies into their already existing curriculum, and just model that for them. And we want to be leaders in the school since we do have a pretty big lack of diversity in our school staff. The best thing we think that we can do is to help lead that charge towards a more multicultural education since we do have diverse learners within our school. And a second thing for networking and collaboration I want to do is to reach out to our program head for the ESOL program, and see if there's anything we can do to test our ESOL kids for the gifted program as well. One of the things that I really want to focus on myself personally is a linguistic emphasis. And so in the past couple of years, I've had a few students who speaks English as a second language, they speak Spanish as a first language, who, when they're in my class, it's like, how are you not in the gifted program? And so I think once students are kind of tracked into that ESL program, it kind of detracts and takes away any chance they have to be seen as anything else other than, oh, there's that kid that's in the ESOL program that needs accommodations. Since everything we do is so English based, I think giving those kids a second look, um, using multiple criteria to identify them for the gifted program would be a really great thing to do in moving towards a multicultural education, especially for our gifted students, because I do think a lot of kids are not identified or misidentified based on the identification process, especially at a younger age within our district. We have multiple criteria, but I think going back to that lack of teacher preparation and education, a lot of kids slip through the cracks, and I think the majority of those kids are culturally diverse learners, unfortunately. So I would really like to look at doing something, since it's in high school. Sorry, I keep stuttering. Um, I would really like to look at, even though they're already in high school, there's still reason for them to be in the gifted program, even if English is not their first language. I think there's just as many gifted kids across every nationality, every race, every creed. And so I really think that is where our gifted program fails most of our culturally diverse students. And that's something I would really like to work with. Lori is her name, is our ESL program head. So this was a great semester, and I thoroughly enjoyed this class, and I hope everybody who listens to this, number one, ignores my stuttering, apologize for that, and finds something in here that you can maybe use in your own practice. Thanks.